Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Today we got my good buddy here, Josh,
What's up?
from Kansas City, and we got like 6 inches of snow, and he said he brought it with him.
Yeah, it was 90 when I came in.
Yeah.
It's cooled off back home. Apparently, people are thankful for that.
Yesterday it felt like 20. Today it feels like 24. So yeah, thanks, Josh.
Warmer. And then what? It warms up like when I leave.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
figure.
Of course.
So.
So I'm going to start off with 3 just basic questions,
Okay.
and first one will be like gratitude. What are you thankful for today?
Being in the mountains.
Yeah.
Yesterday and kind of throughout the trip, I thought I was going to see some people that it turns out I'm not seeing.
Okay.
So yesterday I actually got to spend quite a bit of time with just me and my dog on a trail that you recommended, like 3 hours. Of,
Yeah.
like,
It's
just
one of my favorite
nature.
trails.
It was snowing, but it was not super cold, but it was just like awesome enough to be like super peaceful. Nobody else was out. So yeah, for the mountains and the snow, man.
Flagstaff Trail, if you're around Boulder,
Check it out.
is one of my favorite. Were there still like wildflowers or anything, or was the snow covered all that?
So we started out, and like I don't think I made it to the wildflowers, but
Okay.
it was like dirt on the ground when we started
Okay.
out. But when we came back, it was starting to like slush over and
Okay.
starting to get some accumulation of
All
snow.
right. Yeah,
So
that's awesome. And then the second question is, where did we meet?
we met at Warriors Ascent.
Yeah.
You taught the Yoga Nidra, mindfulness and meditation, and yoga in the mornings.
Perfect. And then third question, just to kind of break the ice, is who's been like the biggest influence in your life, or a mentor? And it can be more than one person.
We talked a little bit about this off camera. So the biggest positive like role, like mentor in my life has been kind of like you and the Warriors Ascent thing. The meditation, the yoga, starting to journal a lot more, and like a lot of that stuff. Like literally, when I met you, like my life changed.
Okay, awesome.
But that also brings me to another part of my journey that I've started, which is climbing a ton, and then like Colin and my buddy Drew are probably my biggest mentors. Me and Drew are kind of learning together, so we're kind of learning from Colin.
Right.
But like he's a solid dude. He's always been super supportive of us, so that's a huge thing for me in that like family too.
And normally I ask this before we start, but I didn't. What topics do you want to discuss today? Because I know what I want to discuss with you, but I haven't even shared this with you yet.
Let's see where it goes.
Okay.
Something that's been kind of on my mind journaling about lately is like community.
Okay.
Community and boundaries. Like that's kind of been.
Oh, healthy boundaries. Yeah.
Which is still a learning process for me.
It's always a learning. We'll always learn.
Yeah, I'm 36 and I didn't learn that I could have boundaries since I met you, which is like 2019. So I'm like, what are boundaries? I can say
Right.
no.
I have a choice in my life.
Yeah.
I know one of the things I want to discuss, if it's okay with you, is recent climbing. I would say almost empowerment, learning experience. Is that something that you would be willing to
Yeah,
share?
absolutely.
Okay. So tell me a little bit. I feel like this was this summer when you went climbing. Where was that?
Which one? I've been all year.
With your buddy.
I would have to peg down the date again, but I think you're talking about when my buddy had the fall.
Yeah.
I think it was the spring, like
Okay.
early spring, because we don't climb much in the summer in Arkansas because it's too hot.
All right.
So I think I want to peg it like springtime.
Okay.
Or maybe it was last fall.
So was it before? It was all before COVID then.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me what happened. You and this guy are climbing in Arkansas.
So we were climbing Arkansas. The route is kind of a weird concave shape into a roof. It's just kind of hard to protect right there. He placed a cam, which he used in traditional climbing.
Yeah. So explain like some of this stuff. Like I know I've climbed before, but say there's somebody out there that has never climbed a mountain. They know like there's a rope, and then
Okay.
they know there's a harness.
Uh-huh.
But what is a cam? What is some
so
of this other stuff?
when you do traditional climbing, you have like nuts and cams. So a nut is basically just like a piece of metal that you can kind of like wedge into a constriction and pull down. So if you
Okay.
fall, that's what protects you. We free climb, which means the rope is there for protection, but we're not actively using it.
So like if you were to
hold us in.
fall, that's why that.
Yeah, that's why that piece.
It's
is there.
not. It's not attached to anything at the top.
No, it's not.
You're at the base. You're climbing
Yeah.
up, and as you climb up, you're
fall,
attaching.
As we found out, there can be some serious consequences. So he protected the route up to the point where he started into the roof. He placed the cam placement. So a cam is just basically 4 lobes and a trigger typically. As you pull it in, it drives the lobes in. You push into a constriction, and as you start to fall out, it tries to constrict itself out, so it protects you in a crack.
Perfect.
So he placed one of those. It was a well-placed cam. Sometimes we have to extend it to like so you don't have a ton of like friction on the rope coming through stuff.
Right.
He just got to a point where he was uncomfortable and he fell. And then the worst case scenario happened. The cam was just in a weird spot that when he fell and the stem twisted, we don't know if it just walked into a constriction. It looks like the wires might have pulled the lobe closed, which would drop it out of the wall. But regardless, he fell about 45 feet. He hit the
Wow.
wall slightly first with his feet, and then he landed on his head. And then from there, it was just kind of like autopilot for me. It was surreal at first,
Right.
like that it even.
So were you at
happened.
the base of the mountain when this happened, or were you actually on the
I
mountain?
was belaying him, so I was the
Okay.
one controlling the rope and how much
Okay.
he had and everything else. So when he fell, the cam initially caught. So we caught him,
Okay.
and then as it kind of swung, we heard a sound that I'll never forget, and it's like a weird hollow puck.
Hmm.
And as it did that, the cam just dropped, and then
So how far away did he fall from where you were belaying him?
I don't know because that part kind of like blacked
Fuzzy?
out for a second.
Right.
But I do remember immediately after he hit the ground, like I had like his neck in a stable position on my
Mhm.
lap.
Okay, so he was close.
Yeah. So I grabbed him pretty quick, held his neck to make sure there was nothing there that was going to go wrong, and then kind of hoped for the best.
Right.
So,
And then what happened after that?
he ended up being okay. Loss of consciousness, but he could talk to me. And then we lucked out real, like, so as we started that morning, search and rescue was in the valley doing drills.
Yeah,
So we were literally across the valley from where they were
Okay.
practicing. So turns out, like, typically their response time's about 2 hours.
right.
So they were across the way. So I started to kind of take a look at him, kind of assess some of his injuries. The other person that was with us, the girl, went to go grab them, and she
Okay.
called 911.
Okay, perfect.
So-
So you had somebody else that was support to help
Yep.
you out. And so how was his recovery? How has he been since this incident?
He's been good. Watching him climb at the gym, just like his mental fortitude is so much like it made me question a lot of things, and I had like a nervous breakdown like the first time I rode back up, even in the gym, because like you just witnessed something that like doesn't happen.
Right.
But after he got cleared to climb again, he was climbing like right afterwards, and he was comfortable.
He was doing
falling
outdoor
again.
climbing or indoor?
We were in the gym because
Okay.
at that point I think it had to have been the fall.
So, okay.
But yeah, so yeah, we went back into the gym. We were climbing throughout the thing, and then he's been climbing outside since. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Nice.
his headset and like mental game is insane.
So you guys have climbed together, indoor and outdoor.
Mhm.
Awesome. And then
So-
how did that affect your friendships, your bond, and everything? I mean, you saved his life.
I don't know if I saved his life. Like
well, I mean, if you
magic
would-
happened, and like his life wasn't in peril. I didn't have my magic bag of goodies.
Well, I mean, if you weren't there,
Yeah.
I mean-
I mean, there is no way that could have happened in a better like way. Like, we kind of game plan. Like, we look back at it. Had he been wearing his helmet, which technically we should have been,
Right.
that style of helmet probably would have broken his neck.
Okay.
So he's better off not having the helmet.
right,
How often is it search and rescues in the valley
Right.
doing that?
right.
The
next to you.
ambulance was like on scene pretty quick. One of the guys had the little Ranger 4x4s, took
Yeah.
off to go get the ambulance, and they
Right.
brought their like meds down and like everything. So like it just all,
Right.
so it worked pretty well. Yeah, like I said, his recovery since then is just insane. We've talked about going out and getting out. It's just been kind of a funky, weird, like with
Yeah.
weather everywhere.
Right. Ali,
So,
it's okay.
yeah, we're gonna get back out. I think this fall we're gonna be doing some like same.
Are you gonna go back to Arkansas?
Yeah. We're going back to the same, maybe not that route,
right.
but we're gonna be in the same area.
Perfect.
So I'm sure for him, he's gonna have a little bit of. It's gonna be kind of hard seeing the route.
I'm
I know
sure.
for me, it's gonna be hard seeing the route.
Yeah.
I have not. I don't think I've climbed down there since. Maybe I have. I don't remember. It's kind of fuzzy. But yeah, so our bond and friendship's got super strong.
Molly,
We've got.
she barks at every neighbor. Anybody, they're like, this is our driveway. Molly. Shh. Leave him alone.
Yeah, it's pretty much my dog.
Yeah, I
Ash
bet it's
came
good.
down
Dogs. So, tell me a little bit about like whoever's watching this, your background. So you can start with the military if you want, or
Yeah, I don't know. I was found myself in the military in 2007,
okay,
and I would have never thought I was going to be in the military. I was the kid that like when 9/11 happened, my girlfriend's dad like pulled his camis out of like the closet. He's like, "You're going to war. You're going to get drafted." I was like, "I'll go to Canada." So fast forward, and then 2007 I joined the military.
right.
Um,
Are you from Kansas City originally?
yeah, I was born in Independence.
Okay.
And then I lived in Elk Grove and went to high school there.
Okay.
Moved into like Independence, Kansas City area for a little bit, and then bounced out to North Carolina whenever I did the military.
And what'd you do in the military?
4.5 years, 82nd Airborne. I was a paratrooper, so I jumped out of airplanes.
Yeah.
Basically got after it. Filled team leader spot there, squad leader spot, and then whenever platoon sergeant
Yeah.
on, I'd fill in that spot.
And then where were you stationed?
I was Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Okay.
And then I went to Baghdad 2008 to 2009.
Gotcha.
Yeah, basically we showed up, and I was handed my orders. Like, they were like, here's your orders. You're going to Baghdad in 6 months. Team live fires on Monday. Try not to kill anybody.
Right.
I'm like, what did I sign up for, man? Like, here we are.
Yeah.
So I had a really good experience there. Met some lifelong friends, like you always do in the military.
Yeah.
I actually got to have breakfast with one today and have dinner with him tonight.
Friends for life. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's amazing how like you can just stop and pick right back up.
Yeah, like it could be 6 months or 6 years.
Yeah, it's been.
And time just hasn't changed at all.
I think the last time I saw him was last winter when we came out to see you, because I didn't see him the last time I went climbing. But yeah, so.
Yeah, I think you've been on. Is this your third time? I can't remember.
Third or fourth, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm almost out here now.
I don't know. That's how it is.
Yeah, you feed me once and then I just keep coming back. Like a stray cat.
Yeah. So then from the military, you went back to Kansas City?
Got out of the military in 2000, I think, like with terminal leave. I got out like right around January 2012. Came back home, managed to hold a job at Best Buy the entire time I was gone. I don't know how we slipped that under the cracks, but
Yeah.
it basically just pulled like back and like went back to work at Best Buy.
Was that the one at the mall?
It's across the street from the mall.
Yeah.
So I was doing car audio installation, man, and like coming from a place that's got like a giant purpose in life and everything
Right.
like has meaning, and you're there to do something bigger than yourself, and then going back to like installing car stereos, getting yelled at because it's not done in an hour and a half.
Right.
Like I was like, man, I can't do this. I was National Guard too. I actually dropped a packet to go back active duty,
Right.
to just go ahead and finish. And called my buddy back, and I'm like, hey man, so I dropped a packet. I'm going back active duty. See if I get back to the same unit. Like, don't rent my room out just
Right.
yet. He was like, so it turns out he actually in Kenosha of all places
Wow.
right now. He was fire in EMS before he came into the military.
Okay.
We were very good friends in the military. He was like a leader and a mentor in the military for a while for me. But we ended up being roommates and like colleagues. What's up, Brent? So we ended up being like colleagues. But I called him. I'm like, hey, bro, I'm coming back. And he's like, why don't you go try fire department first? He was like, use your GI Bill. I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Right.
So started school. Fire was a weird route to get to. Like
Yeah.
everything just kind of falls in my lap. That's how
Right.
it kind of like feels. So I knew that fire picked up in the fall. They were full, but I knew I needed EMT.
Okay.
So I went and took EMT. I didn't have to do that during fire. And then in EMT school, the program directors for the paramedic school were my teachers. So they approached me and they're like, hey, have you ever thought about going to paramedic school? I was like, I don't know what a paramedic is, man. So they explained it to me. And I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like, how do I do that? And like, I just interview for it and then like get all your prereqs. I'm like, okay. So
That's hilarious.
went to paramedic school, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I kind of like
Well, we
lost.
haven't introduced what you do.
Oh, yeah.
These people don't know.
So I'm a firefighter paramedic. I work at Raytown full time, which is like southeast Kansas City, and then I work part time in Independence AMR, which is like the little white vans
Yeah.
that fly around the city. If you're,
I was going to get to
better.
that. I just kind of.
That just kinda, like, organically flows, man.
Yeah, like what's the backstory? How did we get where we're at today?
So, yeah, I almost lost sight of fire, and this is something that we'll build on later. But I was coaching at a CrossFit gym, and that was kind of like my community at the time. And then randomly a guy came in that I went to high school with, and he was a firefighter for Raytown. And then as I was finishing up paramedic school, he's like, what are you going to do? Where are you going to work? I was
Right.
like, full-time AMR. And he was like, why don't you come work in a fire department? So he introduced me to his chief. His chief's like, if you can get your fire 1 and 2, you can get that. So I fast-tracked. There's a 2-week program out in Kansas, Hutchinson, Kansas, HCC Community College. Check it out if you're looking for fast fire. It's like 2 weeks. They just cram everything in 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I nabbed that, came back, passed my physical and my CPAT. Well, been there for 5 years.
Wow.
So it just kind of fell into my lap. Like,
Yeah.
So
And so, what's it like in Kansas? I mean, I know what it's like because I hear stories, horrific stories,
as far as
like the trauma and the things that you see in Kansas City. Like it's to me, and I don't want to get too involved in it, but I'd rather, because the stories I've heard
Mhm.
are worse than what I've ever seen in any horror movie and film and stuff like that. What has been your experience in Kansas City for the things that you've been exposed to? And I mean, I don't want details, but like emotionally, spiritually, mentally, how and physically, how has this affected you?
So honestly, like more so than deployment, being a paramedic and firefighter, I've seen like way worse stuff.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the number one things that gave me a lot of my PTS is just the stuff that we run.
It
constantly.
built upon the things from the past. And
Yeah, and then to go all the way back and figure out like what the cornerstones of like where this all started, and then to like figure it all out. But yeah, like so, I would have never thought that that would have been a bigger trigger for me than being in the military.
Yeah, being in war,
going to war. So,
what is the fire department? Does it have any programs or anything that it offers for people to help?
So, the fire department has to where we can go and like talk to people like 4 or 8 times, like without being charged. AMR I'm real proud of back home right now because they're looking for things.
Okay.
And I've dropped off some stuff about Warriors Ascent. I would like to see, and I've kind of talked about it a little bit amongst my group of guys, and it needs to be in the world. The community needs to shift. The belief of if you have feelings about a call, or if you're having trouble in the military, then obviously you're weak,
right?
And just shove it down.
Yep.
Because that's what it turns into. Like,
absolutely.
Oh, you had a terrible call.
Suck it up.
Go get him, Tiger. You got another one.
Yep.
Like,
suck it
so
up.
how do we like deal with this trauma?
Right.
Like that.
You don't even
I
have
just
time.
ran. Like so, you just gotta like shove it down, and then to quote one of the guys that I went to Warriors Ascent with, like at a point you've got your cup and you push stuff down and the old stuff just kind of overflows. So you kind of get all that just to overflow, and that's kind of where it happened. And then I found myself kind of digging a dark hole, and then finally got back out of it.
So Warriors Ascent was definitely kind of a lifesaver.
Yeah.
For you on that aspect.
So didn't have a real community when I came back, real solid community. Anyways.
Hi, we're doing a podcast.
So I didn't have a super solid community whenever I came back. I think that kind of struggled with it.
Right.
Went through a long relationship that kind of ended not so well, in a bad time in my life too. And then what's crazy is like, as a paramedic, you're trained to kind of like look for, and even in the military, like these are what you look for.
Right.
I woke up one day and I'm like, whew, yeah, I'm checking a lot of them boxes. Like, so I would just come home and just sit in the dark and watch TV and not move from the couch. I quit doing fitness stuff. I quit caring. Like, life revolved around waking up, closing all the shades, watching TV, and not moving.
So how did you find Warriors Ascent? How did that even come into your life? Do you remember?
So, Brave Enough CrossFit, which is attached to ROKC, Brave Enough, one of their guys went through it, the head guy, I think, has gone through it. So we talked about it at their CrossFit competition that they do every year, and a friend of mine that I was coaching with at the time had brought it up a couple times, like just kind of in passing.
Right.
And she's like, hey, if you ever need anything, and like kind of put it in my back pocket. But then I went and I was talking to my buddy Drew, who's a paramedic as well. He lives in Arizona now. I was talking to him about it, just PTS one day at the gym. And then Andrew, who used to be my platoon leader in the military, such a small world, man.
I know.
Like, just kind of like came over and talked to us, and he's like, hey, just so you know, if you ever need anything, and he dropped it too, like Warriors Ascent. And like, so when I found myself in the dark place, and like I kind of knew like I had a plan where I was like, you know, I just don't want to be alive anymore. So like probably next month I'm just gonna kill myself and like get it over with. Like something else brought it up again. I forget what it was, but like it popped up like again.
Right.
And I'm like, man, this is like way too many synchronicities. So I looked it up on my phone, saw that there was one coming up in like, so this was like February, January-ish at the time. Saw one was coming up the end of February, signed up for that one. Like, I no sooner sent the application, I got a phone call probably within like the next 12 hours.
That's awesome.
They got me signed up for that class, and I was like, you know what, I'll go and I'll give like whatever I can to it. And if it doesn't work, it's not like I'm really missing out on anything anyways. Like, it doesn't affect my ability to like go ahead and enact this plan. But I was like, I'll give it a shot. Like, it's helped some people, and we'll just see what it's about. And that's how I ended up at Warriors Ascent. Except, I think it kind of flows organically through life.
Yeah.
So.
And it transformed your life.
Yep. Yeah, without that, I for sure would not be here today. And I don't know if Mike intended it this way. Where you weren't there the first morning.
No.
So we were waiting on Dr. Lease, and we're just sitting down in like a horseshoe formation, like you would, and like we're just killing time. And Mike's like starts at my end of the room, like I'm like 3 from the edge, and he's like, let's just go around and tell us your name and why you're here. And like that guy set the tone. And he's like, my name is such and such, like I'm here because of past traumatic events such and such, and I had a plan to kill myself. So like then it turned into like everybody revealing like what was going on.
Right.
So within the first like 10 minutes you got like 9 dudes crying.
Yeah.
But it's a safe space because like for the first time in a while, like I didn't know what to expect whenever I went there. And then I didn't even know it was only like law enforcement, fire EMS, veteran only. Like I didn't know that. So like when I showed up, I was like, man, I'm gonna be around some people. They're like, I delivered the mail once and I saw a car accident. I'm like,
Right.
But no, it's like being around dudes that have like done stuff
Right.
and like you can relate with, helped a ton. But like I've mentored a class now and I've come and visited quite a few classes. But I don't know what he said or what the person picked up on that. But if everyone could start like that, I feel like that immediately, the vulnerability's in the room.
Right.
And then we're all talking. And like everybody there, you could see like had demons, but they were there to like, let's get past the stuff. Like I'm done dealing with it. Like let's do the work.
Yeah.
So, and from there, like I feel like my class bonded real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then mentoring, you see like a change from day one to like Thursday morning. It's night and day in a lot of dudes. So I remember waking up Wednesday morning, which is a very active day. But I remember waking up Wednesday morning, like probably the happiest I'd been in years. Only to cry like an hour later because we're doing other stuff.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, like waking up happy, man.
It's a
like,
sequence of events,
it
and
is.
once you come back as a mentor, you're like, oh, now I understand. Like Carrie's theming about this, and Carrie's talking about this, and then Mike and everybody, and it's like we all have this different role that we play. So, what are some of the biggest things that you got out of Warriors Ascent that you still use today?
So when I went through, the biggest one was vulnerability, and that's one of the things, like when we were talking about intent the first night, it was like that's what I need to work on, being vulnerable, because bottling stuff down inside doesn't help. I've got family members that kind of do that, and now stepping back, I can see like the damage that causes.
Right, it does.
Just not wanting to confront anything. So going through it, guided meditation for sure was like the number, like bing, bing, bing. Like that is what like started all of like the change in me. I'm like, that really connected with me. And then like the next morning, like being mobile but being in deep stretches, and then focusing on that, setting your mindset and getting like the day ready to go, and then kind of jumping into that. So like that like modality. And when I met you, like you were like in super hippie mode, and it was awesome. Which is funny because Mike even introduced it as like hippie dippy shit.
Right.
But like you're so used to like looking at people that like do yoga and stuff like that. You're like, nope, I'm a man. Then you come there and then like everybody's doing meditation, and like I remember walking in and you had Nag Champa, like the incense, and it immediately brought me back to my childhood. Like I walked in, I was like, and it like brought back great memories.
Yeah.
Of living with my buddy Chris before I joined the military. I was like, we used to burn this all the time.
Right.
And then we did Yoga Nidra, and then from there, man, just and then going back, I've started journaling a lot more. I'm still not great with it. And then Mike, whenever I was mentoring, got me real deep into Stoicism.
Good.
Like real deep.
Yeah. He's all about that, man.
It,
It's his life. I mean, you can't have a conversation with him without that being involved.
Me and him like just go off about it for hours. Like we get together and we just talk. Like I miss Mike. I haven't talked to him much since the.
I just talked to him
thing.
before you came over for an hour, and he said to make sure he said hi, and that he's hoping that he gets to see you again soon.
Yeah. I reached out to him during it, like, but yeah, he's an awesome dude. But he got me like the daily stoic, like little like how like devotionals for like. It's kind of like that, but it's Stoicism. Kind of, so it like quotes like Marcus Aurelius, and then it like they bring it down to like a more modern form, and like what can we take from this? And then what's cool is there's like a huge spot underneath it, and I just like journal like my thoughts on that. So typically I'll get up, I'll read it in the morning, take a shower. I'm kind of like processing it a little bit.
That's good.
Initially, like what I write down what I feel, and then if I find something else in it, I go back and write. So it kind of helps start the journaling process too. It's cool now because I'm wrapping up almost a full year of it. So I'm going to get another one, and I'm not going to look at my old one, and I'm going to journal this year through the days, and it's going to be interesting to compare like where I'm at, like on the two since. But yeah, so Stoicism's helped like a ton.
How has it affected your relationships going from the past to previous? I know you talked a little bit about healthy boundaries.
I don't know if Stoicism's helped in the healthy boundaries. Healthy
I'm
boundaries,
just saying it's like Warriors Ascent and all of that aspect.
So learning boundaries. I was the yes man in relationships. Like I would come home from work and just get beat down for 48 hours at work, and then like, hey, can you come over and help me? I'm like, yep. Like didn't know I could say no.
Right.
So I follow a couple people on Instagram, and like one of the guys posted up. It's Gabriones the third. He does soft lead stuff, cool good stuff. Anyways, he brought up like, don't set yourself on fire to warm everybody else. And he also talked about like you can say no, and you don't have to explain your reason to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, you're close-knit friends, like, if you want to say,
Right.
this is why I'm not doing it. But if somebody approaches me about, hey, I need you to do this, and I
Right.
say no, I don't have to feel guilty about it. I don't have to tell you why I'm saying no. Like, I have my reasons. The answer is no, and I'm
Right.
going to respect myself on this. So, yeah, it's been a process. Boundaries are still kind of weird to me. I've got a friend that doesn't really respect boundaries, so I've had to kind of cut them from my life.
That happens a lot.
So, like, it's one of those...
And family a lot of times.
Yeah,
You have to
it's-
cut family members that, because you think they're family, it's thicker than
Mhm.
blood, right? And then it's that actually been toxic and unhealthy for you.
Well, what's weird about boundaries is, like, everybody expects you to, like, follow theirs and, like, respect theirs.
Right.
But then when you set a boundary and they sidestep it, like, that's just cool. You're like, why am I always, like, the one that gets, like, no, yours don't count, dude. Whatever. So, yeah, it's just, and that was even, like, right before the trip. Like, I've just got to start cutting people out of my lives that don't serve me.
Right.
And building a community that serves me and honors me. And,
Yeah.
like, not being part of, like, toxic communities. Like, I've been, since I got out of the military, like, I think that was the biggest hunt, was hunting for, like, my people.
Right.
And it was a chance thing that happened, but, like, the group of people that I'm around, like, my climbing community guys are awesome.
Right.
So, super supportive, and, like, the fake phone world as well as real life, like, we all, like, see each other. It's not just like, hey, cool.
Right.
But, like, anything that you post up, like, immediately they like, or they comment on it, or, like, they'll reach out and, like, check in on you if something, like, happened in your area. We, like, flip-flop back and forth.
Right.
So, yeah, we're kind of building a little community. So,
Awesome.
I'm sure one of my friend's moms hates me. We met this little boulderer kid, Andy, and then we got him into sport climbing and then trad climbing, and he was going to dental school and he dropped out of that, and now he's like
That's your fault.
dirtbagging it out on the West Coast.
He's like
So-
a hobo on a stick. Just
he's got a place. So no, he's doing like awesome stuff, and like I told him just the other day, like, hey man, I'm sorry I ruined your life, but I'm happy you found yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what it's about, man. I'm not chasing money anymore. I'm not chasing things. I'm chasing happiness
and experiences.
Yeah.
Like this, just coming out,
Yeah.
being in the mountains. So, what topics do you want to cover that we haven't? Any ideas or concepts?
We kind of bridged community.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, a lot of people kind of fall short, I think. Like, if you don't have a solid community, you don't have anybody to lean on. Stuff gets
Right.
tough, right? So, like, I came out of the military, which I love all the guys. We still keep in touch. Like, just the other day, we kind of messaged each other. It was kind of a darker time. We found out another one of our friends had taken his life. But we reached out. I kind of shared my, like, a brief, like, bit about my story and, like, the Warriors Ascent thing on there. And, like, I agree with some other people that have been on, like, Instagram and stuff. Like, the 22 a day and the 27 a day push-ups, like, I mean, that's cool, but it doesn't cut it. It doesn't change, like, what happens with people. Like, just because you did 22 push-ups for me yesterday doesn't mean that, like, I'm not going to take my life today. Right. So it's a cultural thing that needs to change within that, and that's part of your community as well. And even in the fire department, like, it's hard to find, like, your community sometimes in the fire department. My crew is definitely a very tight-knit crew. But even in the fire department, man, like, if you start talking about, like, hey man, that call really bothered me, like, you're gonna get funny looks.
Yeah.
Something else that is awesome, that has been just hilarious for me, is I've got my toes.
Yeah.
So I've got my toes painted. Like, just watching, like, some of the communities that, like, I belong to, like, you can tell who your real community is because they just don't care. Like, they
Right.
look at it and they're like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Other people are judging.
Yeah. So, like,
judging,
I'm sure, like, if most of the fire departments saw, like, my toenails, like, a lot of them would be very standoffish. Like, I walk in, my crew just shakes their head. I'm like, it's whatever, dude. My buddy Drew, who's part of, like, the climbing group, like, he's like, oh, I just thought that's, like, what you're doing now. It's like a normal thing. So
Right.
it doesn't even, like, faze me anymore. So you can kind of almost see, like, a healthy community just by the reactions to, like, what you do in life.
Right.
But whenever I got out of the military, like, that was my biggest thing, is I was searching for community. You can get wrapped up in some really bad communities.
Yeah, that's true.
Not trying to knock, like, CrossFit at all, but I belonged to, like, 2 CrossFit communities, and, like, I thought I was, like, super tight knit, but they were super toxic.
Yeah.
Like, the people, like, all like each other and party with each other, and then, like, they'll pull you off to the side, be like, hey, such and such cheated on her workouts, and I'm like, what's the matter, man?
Yeah.
So now that I finally found, like, Drew, Colin, Andy, John, Melissa, and all them that we climb with, core group, it's been a super positive experience. Like, they're at different spots in life, and like it's almost like the grades as well. But like
collectively, you guys work and seamless together.
So the first time I met Colin, we were going to Yosemite and it snowed. I guess I'm something with the snow.
Right.
May. Never snows in Yosemite in May. Boom, snow. So we ended up going to Joshua Tree, and like me and Drew had gotten along and we were pretty close friends, and I'd never met Colin. I was like, oh no, I'm going to be third wheeling it. Colin took me in like immediately. He spent a lot of the time there showing us around Joshua Tree and like supporting us on our climbs.
That's awesome.
He asked like for a day of us to go and support him on his climb, which we were more than happy to do. He was working a very hard route, but it's awesome. So like you see people in different spots in their lives, but everybody's supporting that journey. And everybody's got like their own little like to-do list or tick list, kind of like in life and in climbing, and it's such a supportive thing. Like,
I think it's part of being vulnerable. Like when you're climbing, right, it's just you and that rock. You have to be completely, totally trusting of other people. I think a lot of times in our community, we don't trust other people. And so when that has to also deal with vulnerability. So the more vulnerable you are, you're allowing yourself to trust that person. You're allowing yourself to trust yourself through this situation, scenario, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's a good analogy, perfectly for climbing, vulnerability, right, trust. Because a lot of times, like you said, if we're just spending our time on this phone, we really don't see people. We don't see their whole picture. So the pictures that I post, right? I don't post a picture of me laying in bed till 3 o'clock because I'm sick or I don't feel good, right? I don't post pictures of me giving myself migraine shots or all these different things, right? Or popping the pills when I don't feel good. I post it when it's a good thing, right? So I try to be positive. I try to be insightful on that, but there's still, I have shitty days that are horrible. So I think that's a great analogy because we need to allow ourselves to be vulnerable and allow ourselves to trust one another.
Yeah, you build a lot of trust. And then you have to be honest with your partner too. And it teaches you to like translate that over into
communication.
Well, yeah, just in general in relationships. But
lay on.
So like if I'm on a wall and I don't have this and I don't communicate that I don't have this,
right,
not only could I get hurt, I could potentially kill both of us.
Right.
So yeah, there's nothing wrong with like looking at your partner and having a conversation about what's coming up and like maybe we shouldn't do this right now. Or like, hey, I got a funky feeling. Like, yeah, because if you press on, like, it's, you don't play games in the mountains. The mountain will bite back.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it transfers, like you said, vulnerability right over. And it's helped build super strong like friendships, in people that you can really trust. Because yeah, like you're gonna fall like on your belay partner sooner or later. If you're not falling, you're not trying.
Right, and you're
not learning.
Right. Well, that's just everything in life. It's like, failing at something.
Yeah, so, and it's one thing to take the trust fall thing that like the cheerleaders do. Go take a 30-foot whip on somebody on a thumb-sized piece of gear. I got the video. Thank you, Drew, for the catch. But yeah, like to just let go that much and just put your life in somebody else's hands and in your work. And it also like it builds confidence in yourself too. Because I struggle with like a lot of self-worth, self-confidence, but to go out and be able to like be on the rock and trust myself and move fluidly.
Yeah.
And place gear. And I think that's one of the things too is like I found that climbing for me is like an active meditation.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I can't be thinking about like something that happened 4 days ago at work or what's coming up, because if I do, then like you're gonna fall. And my mom even talked to me like last time I came out climbing, she's like, I know you do it for the adrenaline rush. I was like, Mom, if I have an adrenaline rush when I'm climbing, something has gone bad.
Yeah, my heart.
Like it should be a calm experience. You might have a little bit of a heart rate if you're pushing like a new route or like pushing harder than you have before. But for the most part, everything should be kind of calm. The minute you start getting that elevated like heart rate, like things are not going so well for you. And
yeah, people don't get that, but that's part of it, is being present, being in the moment, and making the best out of it. I mean, that's what and not getting caught up. What else do you want to share? What else do you want to talk about?
So you talked a little bit about just a couple seconds ago with the Instagram of the darkness. If you guys really want to play, go get on an exercise bike and ride 20K with binaural beats in your headset and listen to your inner monologue.
Yeah.
Like, watch how quick your body goes dark.
Right.
Like, it's stop pedaling. You can't do this. Blah, blah, blah. It hurts.
Right.
Just stop. Like, you can quit anytime. Why are you doing it? Like, your inner monologue will get super dark, but it also gives you a chance to go and, like, burn all those cobwebs out of there.
Right.
And, like, focus on your breathing and, like, positive messaging to yourself.
Retrain yourself.
Yeah.
This is difficult, but I can do it. This is challenging, but I'm capable.
Exactly.
Things like that.
So, like, I made, after I came off of the bike, like
That's
I was
a nice
just
journal.
Thanks, man. I just wrote, the darkness is alluring because it's so easy to do nothing. I struggle with this, and as Marcus Aurelius said, get up and do your job. It's what we were made for.
Yeah.
It's like, even though like the bed's snuggly and everything else, and I struggle with that too. Like, I got here, Monday night?
I think. I don't remember.
Checked in Monday night.
Today's what, Thursday?
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I got here Monday night. So checked in. There was like, it was already kind of getting, like, it was like 90 something when I got here and I brought all the snow. So it was like getting a little bit cool. A little bit hot for Molly to go walk. So we just kind of hung out in the hotel room.
Oh, yeah, the snow came in on Tuesday.
Well, it dropped temperature that night, so
Yeah.
I took Molly for a walk, which was good and productive. We do that quite a bit. But then, like, the next morning, like, I didn't set an alarm. Which is fine.
Right.
But, like, I'm out here in, like, the beautiful mountains, and, like, so I woke up and I was like, I'm like, what am I doing, man? Like, you're in the mountains. Like, you
Get
can
out
do
of
this
it.
at home. Go.
Oh, yeah, get out
So
there.
we checked out, Flagstaff Trail that you, like, recommended, and Molly does not, I got a French Bulldog, Molly. She does not do only heat, but she loves the snow.
Yeah.
So just 3 hours of bombing up and down like this hill. I don't
She
think we
doesn't
made
always
the
get
whole
along
thing.
with the other Molly over here either.
Yeah, she thinks she's in charge. After about 5 minutes, they're good.
She tried to attack Molly over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out. But so we took her out. It was awesome. I got like a lot of pictures with her. And like, even like, and I thought about this, and it's such like, even on the most minuscule level, like as we did that, like I know that she was learning
Oh, yeah.
things from me, and like
Your energy.
how to be on the trail and everything else. But I was also like learning like things about her. Like, she's a tiny little French Bulldog, and you've walked the trail. Some of those are like pretty
Yep.
decent boulders you got to
Yep.
step up. And like I went to go like pick her up, and she's just hopping up these
She's
things.
got it. Yeah, she'll adapt and they'll overcome. And they just see that. It's like, oh, I got this. I'm a mountain dog.
Yeah.
I know I live in the city, but I'm a mountain dog.
Yeah, I think she would love it out here.
She would.
You keep trying to pull me out here.
Well, yeah, the weather's, yeah. Because there's, to me, it's, and I'll say that about, I love Kansas City. There's a lot of things I love, but I realized that, like, long term for me, this is what I need. Kansas City was everything that I wanted.
Mhm.
It has all the conveniences of everything. Right here, it's not as convenient. You have to work it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You have to earn it, right? It's not going to be given to you.
Mhm.
And that's what a lot of people out here, the mountain people, are just a different type of breed of person.
Absolutely.
And it changes you, because then, you have to go collect wood if you want a fire, right? You have to do these things. Like, all our water goes into a tank, right?
Yeah.
We have to pay for every single drop of water that goes down a sink or a faucet or drain. So you learn different things that from the city you can't learn, right?
Yeah,
And experiences.
and you've said it in the past when we've had conversations about it. Like, if you live in the city and you never go out into the wilderness, like, you're doing yourself such an injustice.
yes.
I think what they say is like, what is it, like a day or 2 days in nature with no electronic devices, and your circadian rhythm just
Yep.
resets naturally.
Yeah, it does. Eventually, you're going to be up at sunrise, go down
you'd be
at sunset.
general.
Yeah, and you're going to be there. But also, like, the trees provide certain type of energy that helps. And you're just, the thing is, what a lot of it is when you're in the city, and if you just listen, it can never shut down. It's never quiet. It's never still. Out in nature, it's quiet. It's still, and you're able to actually reset and relax and heal and bond. Just like when you sleep, you're going to sleep a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you open the window and you hear the creek,
Yeah.
right? You sleep so much better listening to that than you do the sirens and the gunshots
Oh, yeah.
and everything else.
I went to Horseshoe Canyon Ranch just a couple weeks ago. It was like quiet during the day because you're in a valley, like it's just walls,
Right.
and it's a working dude ranch, so it's kind of quiet during the day. And I have real bad tinnitus, so it's hard to sleep if it's
Yeah.
quiet. And it's like, oh no. But like the minute the sun came down, like all
the
the like,
insects.
just singing.
Nature, yeah.
That, and if you read into stuff, like they say that like walking barefoot
Mhm.
in nature, like you interchange ions, like positive ions and negative ions.
That's right.
And when you're surrounded by concrete in the city, you just can't do it.
Right.
Like, I can tell a difference just going outside, and I've got just like a little patch of grass in front of my place, and like just laying down in the sun.
Yeah, you feel good.
Yeah, instead of
helps
just like
reset.
sitting in like the concrete, being like, "Arr."
I encourage people to spend as much time as they can in their backyard or parks,
Mm-hmm.
or if they're in the city. Luckily my whole area out here is like nature. You missed it this morning. I didn't feel very good, but a whole herd of elk. Again, the Big Daddy, like I did the video.
Yeah.
Big Daddy with all his women walked through, and I was like, I had my phone, but I'm just like, man, I can't get out of bed. I had to get back in bed.
The other thing is, like, I would have never guessed this. Like, I was always an ocean guy.
Mhm.
Like, the ocean still has my soul for sure.
Right.
Like, just feeling the movement of the waves and everything. Like, it's just, you feel so connected. But being in the mountains have captured my heart. So,
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Even if you're a climber,
yeah,
or you like to hike, you like to spend
not
out
even,
time.
like if you're an inside person that's never been in the mountain, go. I
Yeah.
encourage you, just go.
Yeah.
Like, there's snow on the ground here. It's not nearly as cold. It's like
No.
I looked yesterday. And it was like feels like 23, and I'm out there in like a lightweight hoodie and a
Yep.
puffy on over it because it's such a dry cold.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't just cut through you, but it gives you a chance to get out here, and it gives you a chance to, especially if you're not from this elevation, you have to slow down.
Well, going from 80 to 20 is going to be a little bit of shock for anybody.
Mhm.
well,
Well-
but after that, it's like, oh, it's not as bad out
I've,
here.
I've been in your mountains in the
Right.
like, winter. No, but it forces you, like the elevation change, like forces
Yeah.
you to slow down. And then the other thing is, like, you see a lot of people, and I'm kind of guilty of it too. You're taking all your pictures and getting all
Right.
this stuff, and you forget to just put the stuff away
Right.
and experience.
Yeah.
Like, it was fun watching my dog. Like, you could tell she was smelling smells she's never smelled before, because she'd get like super
Oh,
hyped
yeah.
up and then like skitter through the snow,
Yeah.
or like just plow
Chipmunk or a
through.
squirrel or a fox or who knows what,
like,
you know?
Yeah, like elk, everything else. Like,
Yeah.
and then there was something that she was seeing that I wasn't, because like I was picking up on her cues. Like we'd stop in a few places and I'd take some pictures, but she'd kind of be like up and on alert,
Right.
kind of like looking at things, and I'm like, what are we seeing? But
Yeah.
it was just
She's making sure you're safe.
yeah, it's
She's
awesome just to
protecting
go out
you.
and like
Yeah.
bond with your animal, bond with nature. I mean, and the benefits. I've also got like friends out here too. So,
Awesome. Well, anything else you want to discuss before we close this up?
Did I write about anything else?
I mean, you got a lot. That's a
Community.
super cool journal.
Boundaries. We've talked about a little bit of that. Yeah, like, so I posted up on my Instagram like a little thing, like sometimes the vacations you want, the vacations you get. Like, so
I know my wife's in there. She's gonna be like, "Oh my god, every single vacation
so
it's been that way."
So generally my vacations are what we call suffocations. Like we just go out and we climb for like 4 days, and it doesn't allot you. Like it would be great if you had like 5 days more, because you take like
Right.
2 days of climbing, day of rest, 2 days going. Like right now we just go hard. Boom. I land.
Right.
Like I think I drove 20 hours straight through into Phoenix. It was daytime. My buddy's like, "You want to go to bed?" I'm like, "Well, if I go to bed now, I'm gonna be up at night." He's like, "You want to go climb?" So yeah, you just power through. Like you suffer for the entire thing. This time I came out here, and I thought I was going to be meeting up with some friends and some people,
Right.
and then last minute changes, and I found myself out in the wilderness with just me and my dog, and like it turns out like that's what I needed to be and
Yeah.
where I needed to be at the time. So it's kind of like, and it wraps back into stoicism, like amor fati, just love fate. Like
Yeah.
what happens to you is meant to happen, and even like Christian people believe like if you ask God for patience, He's not going to give you patience.
It's gonna be the opposite.
Yeah, He will give you the chance to be patient,
He's gonna
and
give
you'll
you
learn
something.
that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, like just with stoicism, embracing everything. Like I had a couple points. I told you this. Like a fraudulent charge on my credit card right before we came out.
Oh,
here.
yeah, that's right.
So I shut it down. So I had to go get a new one. Last minute, I was like, oh my god, I got it. I can make it.
It's challenges.
I got to the hotel today, or Monday, and went to check in, and they shut the card down again. And I was like, oh no. Like I collapsed like on the floor. Like I was like, I bent down, like, and I was just like, what do I do now? Turns out I called the number, and like they unlocked my card, but like it popped up as like fraud. There's no, like, my bank's not out here. There's no way to get. I was like,
Right.
I can't even drive home right now because I don't have cash. And I was like, we could get Venmo'd money. I was like, we could get Venmo money, but like I can't use a card. So yeah. So but yeah, it was just a chance to be patient, love what's happening to me in my time, and then I've just taken like the last couple days out here to journal more, be mindful, and just hang out in the snow with you guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing your story.
No problem, man.
Love you, brother.
Love you. Prince was all up in this the entire
I know.
time.